My mother told me I was a financial burden, so I finally moved out to prove her wrong. What I discovered next shattered my world. Credit cards, loans, and utility bills. All in my name, opened without my knowledge. My name is Emily Harper. I'm 23 years old, and up until last year, I believed love was a currency you earned through exhaustion. That a good daughter was measured in absorbed blame and silent shifts, in making herself smaller to fit the shape of someone else's anger. Our life was a small, tight apartment in Everett, Washington that always smelled of stale coffee and unresolved history. The air was thick with it. It had been that way since my father left when I was 16. He didn't die, he just evaporated. And my mother, Diane, she didn't move on from that grief. She built a house inside it, and she made sure I lived there with her. I worked long hours as a server at a family diner downtown, the kind with sticky floors and endless refills. I was also taking 2 community college classes online, clinging to this idea of a future, a degree in accounting, something stable, something clean with numbers that always added up. My paychecks went directly into our shared bank account. Diane handled the bills, she said, because it was less stressful for me. I was just supposed to trust. And I did. Because she was my mother. Because after Dad left, it was just us against the world. That's what she told me every time money got tight, which was always. The night everything changed started like every other exhausting night. I'd pulled a double shift, my feet aching, the smell of grease woven into my hair and clothes. I pushed open our apartment door, hoping for maybe a quiet night, maybe just the sound of the TV. Instead, I found Diane waiting in the small living room, the overhead light harsh and unforgiving. Her face was set in a hard line I knew too well, and in her hands was not a plate of food, not a question about my day, but a stack of papers. She didn't say hello. She thrust them at me. Utility bills, a credit card statement, a past due notice for the internet. All of them stamped with red, urgent letters. Look at this, she said, her voice a low tremor of accusation. Just look at it. This is what I deal with while you're out. The lights, the gas, this roof over our heads, it's drowning me. I took the papers, my hands already tired. I'm trying, Mom. I give you my check every week. Her laugh was a short, bitter sound. Your check? Your check covers groceries, Emily. That's it. You think living is free? You think I'm made of money? I stared at the numbers, blurry from fatigue. But I work so much. I whispered, the child in me still seeking an approval that never came. Then work smarter, she snapped. If you're so smart, if you're so independent with your little classes, then figure it out. Pay your own bills. Stop being a burden. Stop living off me. The words didn't just hit me. They settled. They found the secret bruised place inside where I kept all the other accusations, all the sighs, all the time she'd listed every cost of my existence since I was born. And something in that place didn't crack. It went very, very still. It was like a fog lifting. I looked at her, really looked. At the tightness around her mouth, the anger in her eyes that wasn't just about money. It was about control. It was about having someone to hold the other end of her misery. The tears didn't come. Instead, a cold, clear clarity washed over me. I handed the bills back to her, my hand steady for the first time in years. "Okay," I said. My voice was foreign to me, quiet and final. "Okay, what?" she demanded, thrown by the lack of fight. "Okay, I'll stop living off you." I walked past her, into the room that had been mine since childhood. It didn't take long to pack. A duffel bag for clothes, a backpack for my laptop and my few important documents, my birth certificate, my social security card, which I had to dig for from the back of her filing cabinet. I took only what I had bought with my own money or what was unquestionably mine. She stood in the hallway watching, her arms crossed. I think she expected me to storm out and come back by morning, tail between my legs, ready to apologize for my existence. I didn't say another word. I zipped the bag, slung it over my shoulder and walked past her. The door to the apartment opened, and the cold, wet Everett air rushed in. I stepped through it. Before I dive deeper into this story, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share it. Your support truly helps me bring more emotional and unforgettable stories to life. I always love hearing from you, so tell me in the comments what your first step toward independence was. Was it a job, a move, a single brave decision? Your words and reactions inspire me more than you can imagine. And when we finally reach the end, don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10. I read every single one and it means a lot to me. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. The first 48 hours were a numb blur. I called the only person I could, my friend Megan Cole. She was at my location within 20 minutes. No questions asked. Just a tight hug and a passenger seat cleared of gym clothes. She lived in a small but bright studio in a better part of town. You can stay as long as you need, she said. Her kindness felt like a lifeline I didn't deserve, but I clung to it. For a week I floated. I went to work. I did my schoolwork. I slept on Megan's couch, wrapped in a blanket that didn't smell like home. I kept waiting for the guilt to crush me, for the fear of being alone to send me crawling back. But a strange thing happened. With every mile between me and that apartment, I could breathe deeper. The constant ache of tension in my shoulders began to ease. I thought maybe this is all it needed. Space. A reset. Maybe my leaving would shock her into seeing me as an adult. Maybe we could find a new way. That fragile hope lasted exactly 9 days. It was a Tuesday. A plain white envelope addressed to me was mixed in with Megan's mail. It had been forwarded from my old address. It was a final notice from a utility company, Washington Energy and Light. A disconnection warning for an account in my name at an address I didn't recognize. The past due amount was staggering. My heart started to thump. This had to be a mistake. A clerical error. I called them, my fingers clumsy on my phone. I gave my name, my social security number. The customer service agent confirmed it. An account was opened 18 months ago for a residential property. The address she read out was my mother's best friend's house. A woman named Carol, who Diane helped after her divorce. A cold drip of dread began in my stomach. I went online, my hands now trembling. I did a soft credit check, something I'd never had reason to do before. The page loaded slowly. What I saw stopped the air in my lungs. It wasn't one account. It was a list. A credit card from a store I never shopped at maxed out. A line of credit from a finance company 3 payments behind. Another utility account, this one for the internet, under my name at our apartment. The one Diane had just yelled at me for. All of them. Every single one in my name. The screen blurred. The numbers swam together. Not as figures but as betrayals. Each one was a door she had quietly opened, using my future to pay for her present. The burden she complained about. It was the weight of the secret debts she was stacking on my back. The shared bank account wasn't for convenience. It was a fog. A way to make my money disappear while her crimes stayed hidden in plain sight. I felt physically sick. The betrayal wasn't a knife to the heart. It was a slow internal collapse, like the foundations of my life turning to dust. All those fights about money, all her resentment, it wasn't about my contribution. It was about her theft. She wasn't drowning under bills. She was holding me underwater to keep herself afloat. Megan found me on the floor, my back against her couch, the laptop open beside me. I couldn't speak. I just pointed. She read, her face hardening from concern to fury. Oh, Emily. No. This is fraud. This is financial abuse. The word abuse hung in the air. It felt too big, too sharp for my story. Was it abuse when it was your mother? When it was dressed up as struggle, as we're in this together? But looking at that list, at the proof that my identity had been a tool for her use, there was no other word for it. The numbness shattered, replaced by a trembling white-hot resolve. It was a quiet feeling, but it was stronger than any anger I'd ever felt. I had walked away to find peace. Now, I had to walk into a war I never wanted, to protect a future I was only beginning to believe I deserved. I saved every document. I took screenshots. I logged every date, every amount. I requested full statements for every account. I became a detective of my own ruin. And then I called the Everett Legal Aid Foundation. My voice shook as I explained to the kind, tired-sounding man on the phone that my mother had opened accounts in my name. He listened, then said gently, "You need to come in. We need to talk." Sitting across from Mr. Reed, a counselor with gentle eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, made it real. I spread the printouts on his desk. He looked them over, his expression growing grave. "This is a serious form of identity theft, Emily," he said. "Even from a family member. The law doesn't see a mom or a daughter here. It sees a perpetrator and a victim." Victim. The word made me flinch. But he was right. I had been victimized. Not in a dramatic headline way, but in a slow, corrosive way that had almost stolen my future. What do? I asked, my voice small. His advice was clear, step by painful step. First, you separate everything. Now. Today. I left his office and went straight to the bank. I closed the shared account, opening a new one at a different bank entirely. I changed my direct deposit. I put a freeze on my credit so no new doors could be opened in the dark. Each step felt like cutting a cord. Not to her, but to the person I had been, the trusting, compliant girl who believed love meant letting someone consume you. With each cut, I felt lighter and more terrified. I was pulling the foundation out from under the life we'd shared. I knew what would happen when the money stopped. I knew who would be left holding the bills she could no longer pay with my name or my labor. I was no longer holding anything together, and I was about to let the whole world see what happened when I let go. The silence from my mother lasted 2 weeks. 2 weeks of me holding my breath every time my phone rang, my stomach twisting at the sight of an unknown number. I knew it was the calm before the storm. I had stopped the flow of money. I had removed my name from the apartment's utility account, the one actually in my name. After Mr. Reed helped me navigate the painfully awkward call to the company, I reported it as fraudulent. They opened an investigation. The clock was ticking, and the bill was now squarely legally in Diane Harper's hands. The call came on a rainy Thursday evening. I was at Megan's trying to focus on a textbook, but the words were just shapes. When my phone lit up with Mom, the air left the room. Megan looked at me from across the table, giving a single firm nod. You can do this. I answered. I didn't say hello. Her voice was a crackling wire of panic and fury, devoid of any greeting. The power is off, Emily. The electricity is just, it's off. They shut it off. What did you do? I could hear the real fear underneath the anger. The primal terror of the dark, of the cold, of the humming modern world going silent. I felt a pang of it too, an old familiar urge to fix it, to make it right for her. But I clenched my free hand into a fist, my nails pressing half moons into my palm. The physical pain grounded me. I didn't do anything, Mom, I said, and my voice was eerily calm, a flat lake. I stopped doing something. I stopped paying for an account that was opened in my name without my permission. What are you talking about? This is our home. This is your responsibility. You walked out on your family and now you're trying to punish me? You're trying to leave me in the dark? The irony of her words was almost too much. I took a slow breath. The account at Washington Energy and Light for this address was opened using my social security number on October 12th, 2 years ago. I never signed for it. I never agreed to it. According to the law and the company, it's not my debt. It's yours. I've filed a fraud affidavit with them and with the credit bureaus. The silence on the other end was profound. It wasn't just shock. It was the sound of a narrative shattering. In her story, I was the ungrateful leech. In this new factual reality, she was the thief. I could almost hear her scrambling, trying to find the old script. You're my daughter. Everything I have is yours. Everything I did was for us. This is how you repay me. With lies and legal threats? After everything I sacrificed? Her voice broke on the word sacrificed. But this time it didn't twist my heart. It ignited a cold fire. I thought of the maxed out credit card, the loans, the thousands of dollars of debt that were now a stain on my future. You sacrificed my credit score, Mom, I said, the words coming out clean and sharp. You sacrificed my financial future. You didn't take from yourself to give to me. You took from me to give to yourself. And I'm done. She started crying then, real ragged sobs. It was a sound that had controlled me for a decade. It had been the trump card to end every argument, to guilt me into every compliance. But sitting in Megan's warm, well-lit apartment, with my own bank statement showing a balance that was truly mine, the sound felt far away. Felt like manipulation. You're destroying this family, she wept. The family you built on my stolen identity? I replied quietly. I'm not destroying it. I'm just refusing to be the foundation anymore. You'll have to find another way to keep the lights on. I ended the call. My hand was shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I felt dizzy, nauseous, and yet beneath the storm of adrenaline, there was a solid, unshakable core. I had said the truth aloud to her. I had held my line. I had not apologized. For the first time in my life, I had not apologized. The fallout was swift and brutal, just as Mr. Reed had predicted. Diane, backed into a corner and blinded by a lifetime of never facing consequences, did the thing I both feared and expected. She went to the family. My Aunt Linda, my cousins, my grandmother. She spun a tale of a selfish, heartless daughter who abandoned her struggling mother, who was now cruelly cutting off the power out of spite. She played the grieving widow, the abandoned wife, now betrayed by her only child. The text started first. How could you do this to your mother? From my aunt. Family sticks together, Emily. Call your mom. From my cousin. My grandmother left a voicemail, her voice frail with disappointment. Your mother needs you, sweetheart. This isn't like you. Whatever she did, she's your mother. Each one was a little hook trying to pull me back into the old story. For a day I drowned in it. The weight of their judgment, the fear of being seen as the villain, was almost paralyzing. Megan had to physically take my phone from me. Don't answer, she said. Not until you're ready. Not until you have your proof. Proof. That was the key. My mother was fighting with words, with tears, with the powerful unspoken rules of family loyalty. I couldn't fight that with more words. I had to fight it with evidence. I spent the next 48 hours in a focused, almost mechanical state. I created a single, simple document. Not an emotional letter, but a timeline. I listed each fraudulent account. Date opened, amount, current status. I scanned the credit report highlights. I photographed the final disconnection notice for the electricity. I compiled it all into a clean, undeniable PDF. At the top, I wrote only the facts. I didn't send it to everyone. I sent it to 3 people. My Aunt Linda, who was the family mediator, my most pragmatic cousin, and my grandmother. I attached no commentary, no defense, no emotional plea. Only the subject line. Regarding what's happening with Mom. The silence that followed was louder than the accusations. It was the sound of a story rewriting itself in real time. My aunt called me an hour later. Her voice was completely different. Stunned, subdued. Emily, are these all real? Yes, I said, my voice tired but clear. Everyone. You can check the case numbers with the companies if you want. Oh my God, she whispered. I didn't know. She told us she made it sound. I know what she made it sound like, I said. But this is what it is. The allies shifted. The phone calls to me stopped. The whispered family gossip turned its gaze elsewhere. The illusion of the poor, victimized mother shattered against the hard, documented reality of her crimes. My grandmother sent a simple text. I am so sorry, my dear. This is not your burden to carry. It was the first time a family elder had ever absolved me of a burden. The legal and financial consequences for Diane moved with the slow, grinding inevitability of the system. The fraud investigations progressed. Without my income or my credit to leech from, she couldn't keep up. The eviction notice came next. She called me again. This time the fury was gone, replaced by a hollow, bewildered terror. They're kicking me out, Emily. They're putting my things on the street. You have to help me. You have to tell them this is a mistake. There's no mistake, Mom, I said, watching the rain streak down Megan's window. The lease is in your name. The unpaid rent is yours. The debts are in your name now. I can't help you. You could if you wanted to. She screamed, the desperation breaking through. You're choosing not to. You're letting this happen. I finally understood the core of her being. In her mind, my existence was an extension of hers, a tool for her survival. My refusal to be used was, to her, an act of deliberate sabotage. She could not conceive of me as a separate person with a right to my own life. Yes, I said, with a finality that settled in my bones. I am choosing not to. I am choosing me. The morning she was officially evicted was a gray, drizzling Seattle day. I knew because I drove past the old apartment. I didn't get out. I just parked across the street and watched from the car. I saw the movers, hired by the landlord, carrying out the familiar, shabby furniture. I saw her, a small hunched figure in a too-thin coat, directing them with frantic gestures. She looked old. She looked lost. She looked like a stranger. My phone rang. It was her. I almost didn't answer, but something made me tap the screen. Her voice was quiet, stripped bare of all anger, all manipulation. It just sounded empty. Emily, I'm here. Do you still love me? The question hung in the damp air inside my car. It was the question that had bound me for 23 years. The ultimate currency. I looked at her across the street, surrounded by the physical wreckage of the life she'd built on lies. I thought of the girl I had been, exhausted and believing that absorption was love. I thought of the woman I was now, in my own apartment that I'd just secured a lease for, with my own clean credit slowly healing, with a future that was mine to shape. The answer came from a deep, quiet place of truth. Love does not mean self-destruction, Mom, I said softly, my eyes on her distant, small figure. I walked away to survive. That doesn't mean there's no love. It just means my love for myself finally had to come first. She didn't reply. She just let out a small choked sound like the last gasp of something drowning. Then the call ended. I saw her put the phone in her pocket and turn back to the movers, her shoulders slumped. I started the car and drove away. I didn't look back. I was paying my own bills now, the rent, the electricity in my own name, the student loans I was starting to repay. But more than that, I was paying the emotional debt I'd owed myself my whole life. The debt of dignity, of safety, of a future. She, for the first time, was truly forced to face hers. Alone. And in that quiet gray morning, as I drove toward a life that was finally completely mine, I understood the justice in that. It wasn't vengeful. It wasn't violent. It was the simple, profound consequence of a truth that could no longer be hidden. I hadn't shut off the lights out of spite. I had simply stopped hiding in the dark with her. And when I stepped into the light, the shadows she'd created were all that was left for her to face. Thank you for listening till the very end. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. And don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10 in the comments. Your words and reactions inspire me more than you can imagine.